If I had to describe my gaming taste at this current stage of my futile existence, it would probably be something along the lines of off-meta mainstream. Now I know that sounds conflicting, but let me explain. In 2023, for example, the most popular and clear runaway for Game of the Year was Baldur's Gate 3. Great game, I've played a lot of it. But for my money, my favorite game that year was Alan Wake 2. The year before, in 2022, it was a battle between Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. Elden Ring, great game, I played it when it came out. Ragnarok is a topic I'll save for another video at some point. However, I wasn't really enamored with either of them. For my money that year, my replay of Cyberpunk 2077 was what stuck with me the most. Yes, you heard that right, pre-patch 2.0 Cyberpunk was my favorite game that I played in 2022.
Are you serious?
And Phantom Liberty was probably my second favorite game of 2023, right behind Alan Wake 2. Listen, I love me some big budget AAA slop as much as most people nowadays, but I often find myself captivated by the greatness of like the second, third, or fourth options for Game of the Year, rather than those Elden Rings or Baldur's Gate 3s. And my experience with Metal Gear Solid has been no different. Yes, we have finally made it to Metal Gear Solid. You can rest easy now. Prior to playing today's star of the show, Metal Gear Solid 2, I have played Metal Gear Solid 1 and 3. I would say both of those, while still having some of the Kojima crackhead energy, were still relatively traditional, I guess. They have their twists and turns for sure, but they are much more straightforward and upfront to us, the audience, with what they're trying to be. In fact, after playing Metal Gear Solid 2, I am much more curious to revisit Metal Gear Solid 3 because I think I would see it as more of a safe by-the-book entry. We've already gone over the fact that I'm a bit of a weirdo with my taste, but safe or traditional does not equal anywhere close to bad for me. I just think I personally gravitate more towards the risky, the janky, and the less straightforward titles of the world with my love rather than my like. And throughout most of this game, I had no fucking idea what was happening, and I thought the execution of eliciting those feelings from me was incredibly genius. I'll pretty much be spoiling the entire game going forward here, so if you haven't played it at all, play Metal Gear Solid 1 first and then play this one. Part of the reason I think this game works so well for me is how it subverts what an audience expects from a sequel, especially from a sequel to one of the most beloved games ever made. There's so much more gain from a playthrough if you take the time to play the first one, and that shouldn't be much of a problem because both games are very worthy of your time. They also aren't very long. I spent around 10 to 12 hours on both. So go do your homework and come back once it's over. There will also be a Final Fantasy VII spoiler. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I've watched a few retrospectives on the tube since rolling credits, and I think I lack an incredibly crucial bit of perspective that most of those share. I wasn't around for the bait and switch marketing of the era this game came out. I was simply not a conscious human being when this game was released, so I have no perspective of how unpopular or insane the switch from Snake to Raiden was. However, I would argue now that I have a perspective that directly relates to another central theme of the game. The original concept of playing as Raiden correlates to MGS2's theme of misinformation being used to manipulate us to feel certain ways or force us to live certain fictions or truths. The other major theme that I took away is that we as humans pass on much more than our genes to the next generation. We pass on our culture, ideas, history, legends, opinions, all of that fun stuff to the next age of humanity. And that idea is pretty much the entirety of the internet nowadays. I think individuals on this website and others in the past, present, and future still sometimes don't fully grasp the power they have to shape how certain pieces of media, certain events in history, or certain political ideologies are perceived. I haven't been fully immersed into Metal Gear Solid until this year as a fan, but I've known since middle school that Metal Gear Solid 2 is the weird one where you play as Raiden. Then it happened again just a few years ago. I heard all of the discourse that reappeared about this game because of how it predicted our future of digital misinformation and AI overlords. The other main example I have is Final Fantasy VII. I didn't play or become interested in FF7 until not even 2 full years ago, but once again I've known since middle school that Aerith is killed by Sephiroth. These are the central moments and experiences, ideas that are passed down through these iconic games in the relatively short-lived history of the medium by the people who were there when they happened. I have my perspective of classic games going into them for the first time because of the narrative some of you old farts have pushed down through the internet that have then rose to the top as the most popular takeaways or ideas that should be known about these games. It's like I'm discovering ancient gaming hieroglyphics on caveman walls. So going in, I could have never had the same perspective as some of these older retrospectives because they are the reason that my perception of Metal Gear Solid 2 is the strange one where you play as Raiden. And because of my young exposure to the internet, they made that a fact of my life long before I even considered playing this game. So all of this waffling to say, going in I was much more open to the idea of playing as the Temu version of Snake because I was incapable of having the rug pulled. And if I'm being real, I think my least favorite part of the game is actually when you play as Snake for the first couple of hours. Just an FYI too, least favorite in this context still means very, very, very good. This tanker mission is designed to perfectly set up the bait and switch into Raiden. It is everything a fan of the first game would have wanted and more with all the new gameplay improvements, as well as being a direct continuation of the loose plot thread at the end credits. I didn't overly love the first game, so while yes, I still really enjoyed my time, I was kind of waiting for Raiden to show up and for it to get a bit more bold, a bit more wacky for my tastes. And that opening for Raiden is purposely similar to the intro of Shadow Moses, complete with about 1,000 codec calls, the Colonel, shared dialogue, and waiting for the elevator. Except it was worse. I barely got to play the game. Whenever I was actually ready to get going, I got hit with a tutorial or just another cutscene. At the time, I was annoyed, and I really didn't think this one was going to have the sauce for me after all, but looking back now, it had to be purposely designed this way. It's like, here, damn, we're giving you what you want, a recreation of the first game, complete with all of the insane amount of codec calls and cutscenes. It's not really until the anomaly Iroquois Pliskin shows up that the game really starts rolling, and then it never stops. I actually really loved Pliskin in the mentor role here. He's the living legend, the man who we aspire to be, both in the shoes of Raiden and in our role as the player. It's always an event when he shows up, and the way the story unfolds makes him still the most important character in the game regardless of who we are controlling. My favorite moments with Snake are actually when the game shows you firsthand you cannot live up to this man. It's not even possible for Raiden. If you have him snipe for you, he never misses. At the end when you're with him to take on those like thousands of guards, he has a larger health bar and still barely breaks a sweat, while I was there getting my ass beat.
Infinite ammo.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Speaking of getting my ass beat, just like the first game, I think half of my playtime was just looking at the game over screen. But just like the first game, it was still a ton of fun. It pretty much had any gameplay improvement I would have wanted from the first one. More punishing stealth with reinforcements being called in or radio checks, improved mobility with the cartwheel and shimmying across rails. The small details are still way ahead of their time. I just randomly shot a radio out of a guard's hand while he was calling reinforcements, and it was one of those moments where like the game doesn't tell you. I was just like, holy shit, you can actually do that? Most importantly for me though was non-lethal options and the first person aiming. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's also still full of those quirky one-off gameplay sections that add so much variety. My personal favorite was sneaking in the Shell 1 core as a guard, and I actually really liked the sniper section this time. My only main issue here gameplay-wise is the boss fights. The ones that are actually here, I love all of them. Vamp, Fatman, and Solidus are easily the highlights. However, the first game and Metal Gear Solid 3 seem to have way more in my memory. They've always been my favorite gameplay sections in the series, and the fact that there aren't really that many was a bit disappointing for me. The boss theme is still one of the greatest tracks I've ever heard in my life though. Overall, it all just felt so much more smooth than before, and it was hard to put down, which is exactly what the game wanted out of me. The entire story essentially being a Wish.com version of the Shadow Moses incident was actually hilarious to me. Dead Cell's just bootleg Foxhound. They're working for another big boss clone. We fight that big boss clone on a flying vehicle first. The cyborg ninja is back even though that motherfucker is dead. 2 people we try to save end up dying as a result of our presence. The list goes on and on. Besides just being an interesting meta commentary on the nature of sequels and audience expectations of those sequels, I still went along with it all. I wasn't mad at all the similarities. Like I said, I kind of found it funny and the game was still really fun. That's exactly what the Lolly wanted. I honestly thought that the Shadow Moses parallels were just going to end up being more of a Kojima making fun of us type of thing, but the fact that the entire Big Shell incident is just one giant simulation to complete the GW AI algorithm was bone chilling. There's probably like a million videos out now that go into detail about how this game predicted our future in an incredibly disturbing depiction of AI replication of humans. I'm not going to reiterate all that because those do a much better job than I ever could at explaining all of it, but the main thing I want to talk about looking back is that the fourth wall breaks were just telling me the only real solution.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry, it's a game. It's a game just like usual.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
What are you talking about?
According to the game itself, this is a role-playing game. If I don't like where it's going or don't want to participate in the Patriot scheme, then I should just turn the game console off. But I didn't. I just had to see what was going to happen. I had to keep playing the game, because surely there's a way in the game that they get out of it, right? I was having a blast, and I wanted to keep playing, even if that meant forcing Raiden to help an evil AI overlord. I had fallen in love with the fiction, with the ideas of being like Solid Snake, with how it felt to just be a super badass secret agent hero guy, and I ended up doing exactly what the Patriots needed to control the masses of this world. It wasn't until the very end that I felt the internal flip in my brain. Once the evil AI went on its speech about using the simulation data to control the flow of digitized information in order to control the masses, our perception of ideas, our opinions, to control what we should pass down through our lives, I'm be honest, I didn't want to fight Saldus anymore. I kind of just wanted Raiden to go home. But obviously by then, it was too late. I know I've said his name about a billion times by now, but I haven't actually talked about Raiden too much up to this point. I know he got a lot of flack when this game came out for not being as cool or macho as Snake, but me personally, I really love this character. I know I already said Snake is probably the most important character plot-wise, but to me, Raiden was the heart and soul that made it all work. It all starts with the illusion that he is kind of like us, a player point of view stand-in. He did all of his training in VR. It's even alluded to that the tanker mission that we played in the beginning is just the bullshit VR version that he used to train. Fun fact, I've also trained for military operations and indoctrination all my life by playing Call of Duty for way too many years. He is actually just like me for real. He doesn't actually have his own personal reason for being there. His heart isn't in it and he was just assigned to it. Like some of us, he's just kind of doing it to prove himself or to live up to the expectations of his VR training that emulate the legendary Solid Snake. It kind of felt like we were in this together. We're both just doing what the colonel or government tells us because we are told by them that this is the right thing to do, this is good. We are stopping terrorists here. There's totally nothing fishy going on. We're both sometimes whiny. We both sometimes just want to go home from our job. We both sometimes have our head in the clouds wanting to be a legend. Once Tom Brady and the bastard Patriots were revealed to be the real masterminds pulling the strings behind literally everything in the United States, Raiden and I both started to question more of what was really going on here. Now, of course, we still had to stop Solidus because that was still the right thing to do. Let's not get ridiculous. But beyond that, what was really going on? What did the Colonel know? How did Snake factor in? Is any of this even actually real? And that's in the context of Metal Gear Solid's in-game world. Obviously, this is a video game. Don't be a smartass. It's not real. It's made for the PS2 in 2001. From meeting the president forward, I felt the story was built almost solely on subversion. Fun fact, there are actually 25 Metal Gear Rays guarding an even greater threat, the Arsenal Gear. The real threat isn't the nukes, but the dangerous GW AI that can use digital information to control the masses. The terrorists we've been fighting up to this point, while still bad people, let's not get that twisted, are being used as well. They still have whack methods, but their motivations aren't the worst of the bunch anymore. We show up to save the day for Emma Emmerich and reunite her with Otacon, but we end up failing. She dies. Actually, most side characters die in this game. We don't really end up saving anybody. Yet I still keep going thinking I'm gonna be a hero. For me, this is subversion done right because it's baked into the core essence of the game. I said earlier that a main theme is the dangers of misinformation, and here, nothing in the story is ever as it seems. On the surface, it certainly feels like Shadow Moses, but thinking deeper, it certainly has that feeling it won't end well this time. The last piece of the puzzle for me was actually Raiden's backstory, not all of the AI stuff. I knew some of the AI stuff going in, I didn't know the extent of it all, but I knew that was like the main twist that was coming. Raiden's backstory reveal actually caught me off guard, because I was fairly certain he would just be a player point of view character the entire runtime for me to relate to. Turns out, hell no, this dude was catching bodies at the age of 10. When I was 10, I cried because I couldn't go to Burger King for my birthday. He is not like me for real. Now, I interpreted this reveal as Kojima saying two things maybe. One is to draw an extreme parallel between us and Raiden of how some of us gamers are conditioned from a very young age to just do exactly what the people in the video game tell us, to just jump, run, or kill because that is what is expected, what is told of us with linear games. My other interpretation, which is the one I think I believe more, is that this shows that Raiden is not like us in the slightest. It's like that "I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me" quote. He's closer to Snake than 99% of us could ever be, and he still can't sniff the guy's farts at the end of the game. So now here I was, forcing a traumatized child soldier to kill his piece of shit mentor to satisfy the AI overlord so they can use data to anticipate human reactions to cull memes that they don't like. I mean, once I learn all this stuff about him, that his entire history, his life is laid bare to me, he's running around naked, I'm controlling him. He has no reason to cover his cock and nuts, except to hide it from me, my gaze. I've learned too much about him. I should just leave him alone. I should turn the game console off and stop ruining this man's life. After all, as I said, the Patriots can't win if I don't participate. But I did, and I killed Solidus right at the end like they wanted me to. Because I just wanted to be the hero, right? Even though, yes, he was a very bad dude, I felt kinda bad. I felt bad for Raiden, for the countless unnamed NPCs crowding Manhattan streets. I felt like I'd let Snake down. But I mainly felt bad because I think the evil AI made some decent points about human behaviors towards our mass production of data. The internet has become an infinite ocean of ideas, opinions, and information. How can we cut through it all on our own? Is a human even capable of deciphering our own thoughts from this infinite sea of knowledge? Are my opinions or truths even really my own? Or did I just want to believe them to make me feel better about my life? Were they even really my ideas from the very beginning? What if people don't like my real thoughts? What if they're unpopular? What if they're harmful? What if they're useless? Wouldn't it all just be easier if someone told me what was right?
Who am I, really? No one quite knows who or what they are. The memories you have and the role you were assigned are burdens you had to carry. It doesn't matter if they were real or not. That's never the point.
I think what shocked me the most about this narrative was that final conversation with Snake. As I said a billion times, I've seen the videos breaking down the AI conversation and how it pertains to our modern life. In watching those and in actually playing it for myself, I think it's easy to get caught up in the existential crisis of our own futile existence. Except that's not really what this ending is about. The meaning, the context, the intent behind the words are just as important as the words themselves. Do I think the words of the Patriots have some merit? Yeah, they could, but I see the AI as an evil entity that has since outgrown its creators and its original functions. More than that, it is an entity that hates Raiden. It hates me. It's not telling me its ideas from a place of wanting to see me succeed. It wants me to give up, not just on myself, but also humanity. It tells me these things. It hates me through these words because it thinks it's better than me. And I can't put my faith in that. Even if I played right into its hands, even if they told me 20 years ago how data would be the weapon of my present, I refuse to believe that humanity is cooked. I refuse to believe that I am cooked. I choose to believe that just like Raiden, we can reject the control of higher powers and find our own meaning through the terrifying miracle that is human life. Even though we think that our roles or choices may be unchanging for a time, the thoughts, the experiences that we gain during those times mean just as much to our essence of free will as any choice would. I mean, that's all this is. It's just my interpretation of a 2001 video game that I played in the year 2025. I couldn't choose how it all played out, but the opinions I gained as an individual experiencing it are what gave me the agency I needed as the player. Because who knows, compared to a lot of other people, I might have had some wildly different interpretations. You could have been watching this whole time and thought I was completely full of it. And that's fine as long as you actually truly believe in your own soul that I am taking this too far. But in my soul, I strongly believe I'm not.
Count me in. No, you have things to do first. And people you need to talk to.
Metal Gear Solid 2 was a once-in-a-lifetime video gaming experience for me. I went in with the passed-on ideas of others. It's the weird one with Raiden. It told us our bleak future and now we're stuck in it. Now I leave with my own, that Metal Gear Solid 2 is Kojima's best game. That is one of the best sequels I've ever played. That's one of the best games I've ever played. It has destroyed and repaired my psyche like very few games ever have. More than anything though, it gave me the faith that we'll be okay. We live in interesting, unprecedented times to say the least, and it can be so easy to fall into the void. It can be so easy to just surrender yourself to what megacorporations, your government, or even your favorite influencer wants you to think. It's gonna be tough, but dare to go deeper. A lot of times pieces of media especially, really are that deep. They're just waiting for you to answer the call, to look past just the words. Find the importance in your life, in the world, and dare to actually have faith in what you believe in. Like I said, it's tough. I've been there. Millions upon millions have been there. You aren't ever alone in your dark thoughts. If you don't think you can do it right now, that's okay too, because you're human just like me, and that means I have faith in you to eventually get there. Metal Gear Solid 2 showed me more than anything that humanity is not about giving up our own free will when we feel like choice or control are gone. Rather, that to be human is to look directly in the face of that bleak, dark reality and choose to say, my life is my own, my thoughts are my own, my choices are my own, my soul is my own, and no amount of evil AI, megacorporation, government, conspiracy, bullshit is ever gonna take those things away from me.
Life isn't just about passing on your genes. we can leave behind much more than just DNA. Through speech, music, literature, and movies, what we've seen, heard, felt, anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on. That's what I live for. We need to pass the torch and let our children read our messy and sad history by its light. We have all the magic of the digital age to do that with. The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.